Hey everybody, what is going on? XLX here. I got another Master Duel video for you, coming at you with yet another White Forest variant. This is the last one that I have planned at the moment, sort of, but I will definitely be cooking with the White Forest cards moving forward. I still want to try like Toy and Centurion in the same White Forest deck. I suspect that would be quite good. But anyway, enough about that variant. Let's talk about the one right in front of us here, Runick White Forest. So I know that a lot of people who play the TCG were very hyped about this variant in particular. I believe Josh Schmidt popularized this one. I'm only half knowledgeable about that. I'm actually kind of half assuming that because I know that you know, of course, he is sort of the champion of Runick builds, which I'm glad that he was able to kind of get people to realize, you know, that Runick is not just like a stun deck. Like, there are a lot of people who mistakenly assume that. It is actually, a lot of the variants are more about using them as, like, you know, instant fusion is like the big one, but really making use of these like non-tuner bodies to really support a lot of cool strategies. And again, yeah, that White Forest is one of those. I'd also be able to make the argument that like Runick is inherently toxic because they just banish all the cards in your deck. And listen, if you are getting decked out by a Runick variant like this, then your deck's strategy just is taking far too long to get moving anyway. Like your deck would not be able to be fast enough to compete with a meta deck if it's slow enough that a Runick variant like this one, it has enough time to mill you out before you can like do anything. But I digress. So let's talk more specifically about how these two archetypes play together. The synergy between them, as I said before, is a lot of the fact that all of the Runick quick play spells, of which we play 13, I believe, give you access to these level 2 and level 4 non-tuner bodies, respectively. We are also playing Sleipnir as a sort of like removal or disruption option in its own right. Basically, any Runick spell can, of course, summon this, and then this card can banish both itself and opponent's monster. It's kind of like SP, actually, in a little bit of a way. But definitely not a bad option to have to be able to summon stuff. So the build itself is pretty standard, I think, for an MD Runick White Forest build, with a couple of things I want to note. First and foremost, that I'm on 2 Imperm, as well as 3 triple tack for sort of my... After you play all of the White Forest cards and the Runick cards, and of course, like, see Ash Blossom Call By, you kind of have, like, you know, a few leftover slots for Spell Trap Board Breakers / Disruption. A lot of people like to use these slots for cards like Skill Drain, and, you know, if they're going to run like a summon limit, like a random one-off Floodgate, there are some Runick White Forest builds that do that. I've seen a lot of people on 3 triple tack, which I really, really like. I've also seen a lot of people on Evenly Matched as well. And I will say that if you're gonna play Evenly Matched in a deck that's trying to go first, this is one of the better ones to do it. Not just like White Forest, obviously, because you can just pitch the spell or trap card, but Runick in general actually really likes to play evenly because it has such a difficult time breaking boards that it does kind of need to lean on something as powerful as evenly to be able to do it. Again, I know in the past I've said that generally speaking you should not be playing evenly in a deck that's trying to go first, but that's why I always try to preface stuff like that with, well, generally speaking, because there's exceptions to every rule, and I think that playing evenly in Runick variants is not a horrible idea, even though of course you again do intend to go first. But the triple tactics talent, oh, it's been so good. I absolutely adore this card, and again, in White Forest, you know, well, actually, again, in Runick in particular, because I've played Runick variants, like Runick Sprite, I've played with 3 triple tacks in it, and again, this is a deck where if you're going second, you do struggle if you don't have that board breaker option. And particularly the White Forest variant, you know, it's not like you can just jam a bunch of hand traps. But again, that's also kind of true of Runick in general. You don't really want to play a lot of hand traps because you don't want to be drawing a ton of hand traps alongside your, you know, fountain, right? Or off of your fountain. I mean, that's not horrible, but you would rather be finding either gas or runic spells. And runic spells are both gas and disruption, which is why it tends to be better to value those in a runic deck as opposed to hand traps. Of course, runic decks in MD are in a bit of a state with the fountain only being at 1. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think as long as we limit tip, this can definitely come back to 2, for sure. I kind of don't think you even need to limit tip, but I think that's a concession a lot of people would want, and I don't think that's a horrible concession to make. In terms of both a balance and, like, let Runick have something. I think it's like they have nothing, but 1 fountain is pretty close enough here. I mean, all it takes is 1 SP on the fountain to really get that side of your game plan. Now, this variant in particular doesn't fall quite as much to something like that, which is nice. It's funny too because this variant probably wouldn't even normally be playing a Stellar. This is like the, I don't know about the 1, but this is one of the White Forest variants, but where you actually kind of don't really need a Stellar that much, because we already have access to a very, very solid level 2 non-tuner, and the Stellar can only really lead us into White Forest plays, but if we're going Runic spell for the Hugin into Fountain plus 1 of our level 4 tuners, that's when we can quote-unquote full combo, right? So, the LZ is still fantastic, though. I would definitely still play a set of LZ for the ability to easily search out the level 4 tuners without using your normal summon, necessarily. That is kind of the other thing about Estella. I mean, of course, Stellar can special summon the Sylvie, right? But using your normal summon means that, you know, any Sylvies in your hand wouldn't be able to use it for that. Yeah, like I said, it's a pretty standard build, I think, in terms of what you're trying to do here in MD. Again, maybe aside from imperms. That, I will say, is more of like a personal preference thing on my end to want to play imperms over stuff like Evenleys or Floodgates. I just really like the flexibility of imperm as opposed to Evenleys, which are only good going second, or Floodgates, which are only good going first. But I also understand that the power level of each of those cards is such that they are probably better to play than imperm anyway, despite imperm being more versatile. Yeah, I think the extra deck 2 is, like, fairly standard. There's not really anything too outlandish going on here. I think it's all pretty intuitive. So why don't we go ahead and break this list down card by card, and then we can take a look at some of our duels here. So we're on 3 Max C, 2 a Stellar. Oh, excuse me. 2 a Stellar of the White Forest. We got 3 LZ of the White Forest, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 3 Sylvia of the White Forest, 3 Rukia of the White Forest. I didn't really talk about that, I guess, too much, is that we're playing 3 of her, where I don't think we've done that in the other build. Again, we just value the level 4 tuners to go with our Runic cards so much that having 3 of these is definitely... I would max out on these before even playing a single Stellar. That sounds a little weird, but I think for this variant that's correct. But anyway, that's all for monsters. For spells, we have 3 Dual Tactics Talent, 1 Tales of the White Forest, 1 Runic Fountain, 2 Called by the Grave, 2 Runic Tip, 3 Runic Flashing Fire, 1 Runic Destruction, 2 Runic Freezing Curses, 2 Runic Slumber, 1 Runic Smiting Storm, 1 Runic Golden Droplet, 1 Runic Dispelling, 2 Infinite Permanents, and then finally a Woes of the White Forest is going to round out our main deck. For our extra deck, we're on 2 Hugin of the Runic Wings, 2 Jerry, the Runic Fangs, 1 Sleipnir, the Runic Mane, 1 Formula Synchron, 1 Tri-Edge Master, 1 Silvera Wolf Tamer of the White Forest, 1 Rakila, Sinister Soul of the White Forest, 1 Diabel, Queen of the White Forest, 1 Baron de Fleur, 1 Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign Xingying, 1 Chaos Angel, 1 number 41 Baguska, the terribly tired Tapir, and of course, finally, 1 SP Little Knight. That'll do it for our list. Let's check out these duels. Okay, why don't we start off with a going second game? I think I remember how this one plays out, but yeah, we'll start with this one here. So the thing about this variant, actually something that I'm realizing about kind of every White Forest variant is that these variants, oh, I forgot about Duelist Cut music, let's go, are a little bit less about, you know, highly explosive combos between the two, you know, archetypes, and more along the lines of like, hey, if one archetype doesn't get you there, the other usually will. So we're up against Valmonica That's right, I forgot there's a Valmonica here. You'll notice I'm going to fire off Max C once they set up their pentascale. Normally, I don't advise playing Max C during the main phase when your opponent doesn't have any monsters in play. That, of course, plays into both Gamma and Triple Tactics talent. But Gamma's at 1, so not only is it going to be around a lot less often in general, but most people who are on Gamma are no longer playing it. So even though I think Gamma is still quite a good card. Also, I will adjust my playstyle of when I use Max C depending on the deck. Like against the Pendulum deck, for example, I will definitely fire off Max C when they have their scales set up. Now, my opponent's not going to summon here, but I don't exactly need the draws either. If you look at this hand, a Stellar plus 4 Runick spells, that might just be like a perfect hand, right? Opponent's going to fire off Max C against Flashing Fire. I think we got Max C'd every game that I'm going to show here, but we Max C'd our opponent, so I suppose it's only fair. We also have 2 Runick spells on hand, so it's really not that big of a deal to get Max C'd here. I'm still going to use another Runick spell to summon the Hugin. Discarding Dispelling here, I want to keep the Stellar around for some potential follow-up plays. I'm not going to be summoning really anymore this turn. I really want to more just pivot into the control aspect. That's something about pretty much every Runick variant, right? Is that Runick variants kind of turn the deck into control decks. Oh, this triple attack to draw 2 is phenomenal here, by the way. It's going to find us a Sylvie, which we can normal summon. Don't have to use LZ to special, or a Stellar to special summon a tuner here. Valmonica Followed Rhythm is going to bounce the Sylvie. This is completely fine, as I did not have any plans to continue comboing anyway. My plan here was to normal summon Sylvie, add the woes, and then simply pass, right? Although I did do the thing that I always do when I play Runick and not enter the battle phase. You gotta click battle phase, because if you don't, it's gonna skip your next battle phase. It is the next battle phase that you enter, not the battle phase of the next turn. I always forget that when I play Runick, which I don't do that often, actually, so... So yeah, I mean, we've discussed this at length in the last video, right, about not giving your opponent draws off of Max C, especially in a game state where you already have control of the board, and that's definitely the case here, right? Going into the opponent's turn, they had, like, what, 2 cards plus their pentascale? We had Woes, which would actually let us summon a level 4 tuner and go into Silvera to turn everything face down if needed. We also had access to Destruction, and I think that's a Flashing Fire in my hand there. I think we can actually check the log to see what we drew. Yes, so I have Flashing Fire and Destruction. I can pop both a monster and a spell trap. I was debating using the Destruction on one of the pentascales before the main phase, but I think that would also potentially give my opponent information about how to play out their turn. Plus, we can also just mess with the scales to mess with their number of counters as well. We don't have to necessarily halt all of their pendulum summoning to stop their plays, right? So either way, as mentioned before, you know, sometimes it's okay if they max you and you have to stop comboing if you don't think you can win that turn. And it's extra okay in this deck because, again, because we are a Runick variant, we have to skip our battle phases. We don't need to OTK, we just need to control the board, which I think is quite fascinating. So, enough yapping. Let's go and take a look at the next game. Alright, now of course in Duelist Cup, I can't look at my opponent's deck before going into the game, but when you see a coin flip lost going first game, you can pretty reasonably assume that it's Tenpai, and I'm very sure that I am playing against Tenpai here, so... Yeah, so this is a hand where we kind of didn't get either engine. I mean, we got a Runick Destruction, but that's about it. Thankfully, my opponent maxed me here. I say thankfully because I not only have Ash Blossom and Callbite, but also Triple Attack to let me get in a couple of draws here. So, I'm going to try to use that to find some amount of gas. Going to special summon the Hugin and activate pitching Imperm here, because I'm really looking for another Runick spell more than anything else. Although if I can find a White Forest card, I think that would be something at least. So they do have a Veiler. I'm going to use my Callbite on that, leaving that Triple Attack as the last card in my hand. Well, of course, in addition to this Fountain that's about to get added, right? Alright, so yep, there's the Fountain. Then I'm going to Triple Attack, and like I said, I'm going to draw 2 cards. I definitely value finding plays here more than hand-ripping my opponent, so... No Runick spells, but we did find a Rukia. I'm going to activate sending the Callbite to try to draw a Runick spell, but it's just in a Stellar. So, what I'm going to do here is go for Aquila, and this is going to look wild, but I'm going to actually pitch the Fountain to add the Woes, and then set that in pass here. So, again, that might look insane to you. You're like, Hex, you just threw away Fountain. That's half of your deck. Why are you doing that? Well, the reason I'm doing that is because it doesn't matter if, you know, half my deck is Runick cards, and it's part of the main focal point of my strategy. If I didn't do that here, like, what else am I doing, right? I can't just sit on Rukia and Hugin. I guess I could go into SP, but no, I think that this play is going to end up being much more valuable than simply making an SP Little Knight. You could make an argument, but we also have an Stellar. If I had had that Runick spell, I'd be a lot more tempted to keep the fountain, of course, but yeah, here I'm going to special summon LZ, just kind of get her into the graveyard, and then we can go for the Diabel, Queen of the White Forest. From here, their Pydro Resolve, setting the Samgen summoning, which our opponent is then going to flip up here in a moment. First, I'm going to add the fountain back with Diabel. I guess that is another reason why it's not that horrible to pitch Fountain for these effects, is that you can always, like, use a tuner, put Diabel back in the extra deck, special summon Diabel, add the Fountain back next turn, you know? But here I'm going to use the Diabel to make a 10, and I'm not going for Baron, I'm going to go for Chaos Angel. For a few reasons here, actually. Of course, the main reason is that we get to banish the Samgen summoning, but we also, because we used only light monsters to make it, well, because we use light monsters in general to make it, rather, we're not affected by our opponent's activated effects, meaning this Typhon doesn't do anything, and they're not able to battle over it. I think, okay, so I'm going to take a guess as to why my opponent made Typhon and tried to use it on Chaos Angel here. I don't think it's that they didn't read Chaos Angel. I think they simply misunderstood, and it's totally understandable. Because Typhon Sky Crisis says that while the Succeed Summon monster is on the field, neither player can activate the effects of monsters with 3,000 or more attack. So they might be thinking, oh, so this works against Chaos Angel because it's got more than 3,000 attack. No, because the effect synchro monsters you control are unaffected by monster effects activated by your opponent is not an activated effect. It is not an activated effect. That is a continuous effect. And thus it cannot be stopped by the Typhon because the Typhon says it has to activate and it doesn't. But of course the effects to bounce is an activated effect, meaning that it was not able to bounce the Chaos Angel here. But, I mean, yeah, that's why I went for Chaos Angel over Baron. I mean, I think it was a pretty easy choice there. Well, honestly, it was mainly because of the Druid Swarm, right? I wasn't even thinking about Typhon. Of course, it's not that it was completely unexpected in that Tenpai extra deck, but my first thought was that Druid Swarm. I was like, okay, if I make a Baron, they're just going to crash Druid Swarm into it, force me to use my Omni there, and then I'm kind of SOL, right? So, or I have to Baron the Samgen summoning, then they go to battle phase, Druid Swarm crash, and then I kind of don't have anything. Although, to be fair, I'd probably be fine anyway, but, well, it really depends on what I top decked. Anyway, long story short, by making Chaos Angel, I not only still removed the threat of the Samgen summoning by banishing it before my opponent had a chance to activate it, but also set myself up in a situation where Druid Swarm's effects wouldn't get me, SP Little Knight was the other main thing I was thinking about wouldn't get me. I wasn't considering Typhon, but you know what? That doesn't get me here either, so that definitely works. All right, one more game to check out. Let's finish off with that one. Okay, I won the coin flip this time, but I think this might be another Tenpai deck. I think I actually remember this game. We don't know for sure what we're up against. Yeah, this one's going to be more showing off a bit of a turn one combo line here that I thought was pretty interesting. So, we're going to activate the LZ, pitching one of our triple attacks, a special, and then add Sylvie. Yeah, having this plus tip is a pretty good setup here, but I'm going to mainly, of course, be focusing on the White Forest line, because Runick tip by itself doesn't really let me combo out. So we're going to go for the Aquila, pitch that Tails we just added. Our opponent's going to Imperm. Now, I did have the option here, potentially, to activate Sylvie's effect to put back Rakila, which would let me dodge Imperm and get the add. But I'm thinking about that, right? And I'm like, okay, what is this Imperm stopping me from doing? It's stopping me from adding Woes? Okay, so what do I value more? Having Woes or this level 6 tuner body on the board? And when you phrase it that way, I think it becomes pretty obvious that it's better to have this body for my comboing on turn 1 than the Woes for my opponent's turn, right? So, I think a lot of players might have actually responded with the Silvera there. I'm not even saying, like, LOL, people click yellow button, but, like, when you're playing a duel and you're making all these split-second decisions, it can be really easy to do something like that and not really think about it, thinking that, like, oh, this has got to be a good play because it stops my opponent you know, the negate from going through, right? But yeah, we have the timer, you have a moment. It definitely pays to take a second, think about the implications of each line. Think about if I negated this, what would happen? If I didn't negate it, what would happen? And just going from there, right? So, alright, we're making our Diabell here. I can use the Diabell effect to add back triple tack, the other one that I pitched, which I can now activate since my opponent has now used a monster effect, and I get to draw 2 cards here. Oh, no, I'm going to hand rep them, that's right. That's right, that was this game. So it was actually Voiceless Voice. Yeah, so because they Veilored me, right, in addition to using the Imperm, yeah, like I said, I get to use the triple tack that I added back off the Diabell here. So it went by kind of quickly, but their hand was Trieste, the level 9 thing that Diviner sends. Then it was Skull Guardian, the ritual monster, and then Nadir Servant. Definitely going to put back Nadir Servant there because the other 2 cards don't really do anything by themselves, right? So this is a state where I wanted the hand rep over the draw 2 because I don't really, like, yeah, I could draw 2 and maybe find a couple of Runick cards, but I already have a solid amount of interaction for my opponent's turn, so having that knowledge of their hand and being able to take their best card, I think would definitely be more valuable here. Also, I'm not even done making interaction here. I can bring back my other tuner and then link it off with the Rukia in order to add an SP Little Knight to my end board. So now, thanks to the triple tack, I know they don't have anything, right? And they don't even wait to see their top deck. They didn't even wait to see what they drew for a turn. They just conceded. So yeah, I know they don't have anything in their hand already. So they're in top deck mode, and I have 2 points of interaction on the board. The SP Little Knight Banish, as well as Diabell summoning Formula, and then going for any one of my 10s. I could go for Baron for the Omni Negate, or I could go for more Banishing with Chaos Angel, or potentially Sheng Ying as well. Summoning Sheng Ying and then using SP and getting like a kind of double banish. But that wouldn't even really be applicable in this situation because our opponent wouldn't have enough cards in the field for us to even banish with Sheng Ying anyway. So I'll probably just make Baron here. It's a long way of saying that. But yeah, that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. Thanks so much for checking out this variant. Super appreciate y'all. Why don't we go ahead and move on now to our outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Just want to give you a huge thanks for watching all the way to the very end of the video. Believe it or not, that is actually one of the best ways that you can support the channel is by watching the videos in their entirety. But there are many ways in which you can support the channel if you are so interested. The names that you're seeing on screen here, I gotta give an extra special thanks to because these are people who have chosen to either become a member on YouTube, which if you're interested you can do as well via the join button next to the subscribe button down there, or have signed up over on Patreon and become members there. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Without the support that is being offered by, again, all the people that you're seeing on screen right here, I would not be able to take the time to dedicate to uploading daily YouTube videos. So thank you so very much. But there are also other ways you can support as well. Again, link to the description below. If you like my deck tracker that you'll see in a lot of my videos, the Untapped Companion, you can download that for free, and if you use my affiliate link down there, then that also goes a long way towards supporting the channel. That's, again, free. So is subscribing here on YouTube. That's also free and a huge way to support. You can also check out Twitch, once again linked in the description below. Following and subscribing over there will not only support as well, but also give you notifications of when I go live if you want to catch some of the live streams. But really, no matter how you choose to support, it all adds up and it all definitely means the world. So thank you, each and every one of you. For now, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out. But more than that, I'm hoping that you have a fantastic day.